Hi, this is Brad with Copper Creek Cuts Lawn Care Company in Northeast Florida. In this video, we're taking a look at some of the work that a Ventrac did at a project that I volunteer at roughly 3 times a month. There are a couple features there that are especially challenging when we have our Florida rains, which is a lot of time during the summer, and I wanted to highlight some of those and how the Ventrac can handle it. Sometimes you'll see people say, yeah, a zero-turn mower could do that. That's not a big deal, when in actuality it couldn't. And if it could, maybe it's not the safest thing. You're probably going to get stuck, things like that. So this first thing that you see me mowing is a dry pond. It's a retention basin that most of the time is dry, but when we get a lot of rain, it fills up. This time it was especially wet and soupy, and you can see that I'm having to attack some of the sides, or some of the mowing angles from the side, because if you just go straight in, you can see how deep those ruts are and how muddy it is. It was really soft, and there were a couple times even the Ventrac was threatening to get stuck because it was just rolling in mud. This, you can kind of see a lot of those ruts are from the last time I mowed, which was I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, but you can see some of those fresh ruts on the right hand side that, yeah, it's just so soft and muddy. If I only had single wheels, if I would have had a zero turn, there's no doubt in my mind that I wouldn't have been able to do as much as I did. And as it was, I still felt like I couldn't mow all of it. There were some that really needed to be string trimmed, but this is an area that it doesn't really get any traffic, so the folks who manage this place are completely happy with it looking the way it does. Another thing I see a lot of comments are people saying, oh, it looks terrible because of the ruts, because of the depressions. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to argue that it looks like a golf course when you're done, but things have to be mowed. It's like, you know, you just have to get in there and mow it sometimes. You can't wait till it's dry, or it's going to take, you know, months, and you're going to be in there string trimming 6-foot tall grass. Now, this section that you see mowing is about a 1/4 mile worth of ditch in the front. And this week it was not as bad as it has been in previous weeks, but basically what I'm mowing is what the mowers, the scag mowers that maintain the property, could not get because of how wet this area of the ditch is. So this is something where you're like, what's the big deal? It's, you know, it's a couple passes on a mower. If your mower can't handle it because it gets stuck in the ditch, it's a very big deal. And so what normally happens is one of two things. You have a team of 3 to 4 push mowers who will come out here with commercial grade push mowers that get clogged every couple of feet. So they'll push mow for 3 or 4 feet. The machine will get clogged. They'll have to find if it's very wet, they'll find a wet patch to, you know, run the mower in some water that'll clean the deck, or they'll have to scrape it out, or they'll have to slam it up and down so those clogs will break out of those tiny 21-inch mower decks, because otherwise the grass is just so thick and wet that it immediately clogs them up. Or you've got a team of 3 or 4 guys out here on string trimmers, and, you know, they're hating their life for an hour or however long it takes them to mow this, depending on how much of the ditch is wet. So I'm trying to show a couple different angles, show you what the tires are doing. Of course, angles don't show up well on camera, but this is one reason I really like this offset mower deck I have. I don't believe they make it anymore. I think I bought it, I want to say like a month before they discontinued the model, because it's not a very popular one. And the way that offset mower deck works is that the left edge of the deck is 6 inches further over than where the left edge of the dual wheel is. So that means your mower deck sticks out 6 inches further on the left. That conversely means that on the right hand side, your tires are going to stick out further than the mower deck. So I think this is one of those things that a lot of times if people are just mowing fields with this, it's like, what in the world is the point of that? But when you're mowing a ditch at an angle, you can't always mow perfectly straight. Sometimes you've got to be crab walking up the ditch a little bit, which means that deck is pointed actually a little bit further to the right than some of your wheels are. And so having the 6 inches of overhang is really nice because you can really get down. It can be nicer to cut further to the left than you're actually traveling, especially if it's tricky terrain. And if it's you know, something that's standard terrain, well, you can get closer to fences without having to worry about your tires rubbing. You can get closer to pond banks without having to worry about leaving some kind of little strip to string trim. I really like the offset mower deck. It's a very niche application, and if you weren't mowing banks, if you weren't mowing ditches, if you weren't mowing ponds, I can see why most of the time you'd probably just get the standard 72-inch deck, which is probably what a lot of people did and why they discontinued this model. You can see the cut that I just left as I'm, turned around now and going the other way. And you can also see how wet that ditch really is. And I switch here to a view where you can kind of see what the tires are doing as they're rolling forward. And if you look at the very left, you can see it's kind of pushing mud out of the way in the very middle, the very lowest part of that ditch. So the point of this video is not to tell you how much money this Ventrac is making me, because this is all volunteer work. So, I'm burning my own fuel here, my own time. But the point is to demonstrate some of the things that a machine like this can do that otherwise would have been extremely tedious push mowing labor. It would have been string trimming labor. One person on a machine can do all this work without having to get up, whereas before it would have taken 3 or 4 guys the better part of a morning with some less efficient tool to get this done, and here I am doing it in about 30 minutes. And this is one other really nice feature of the Ventrac, because everything articulates. Look at how I'm just plowing that deck right down into the ditch to get the low spots. Like, you couldn't do that with a zero turn because you'd get hung up. But because the deck is out front, I'm able to just go ahead and get these weird angles that otherwise you would have had to bring a string trimmer for, or something like that. So a really, really nice tool for these applications. I can't get enough of it, and the people who would have been doing the manual labor really appreciate it. This final location is just a low spot between this fence and this pond where, again, too much water is held. There's just no way that the Skag mowers that they use can get them. And they're the top of the line Skags. I want to say they're the Cheetahs, so they're good machines. It's not a problem with the machine. It's just the conditions are a little bit too rugged. But again, this is grass that hasn't been mowed in a couple weeks. It's getting cut to 3.5 inches is what I have the deck set at. And you can see, again, what a nice finish that mower leaves, even though it's thick, wet grass, even though it has a mulching kit installed, so it's got to process a ton of clippings and really do a lot of work to make it look nice. But again, it does a great job. So this is definitely a video to toot this machine's horn. It's something that I really enjoy using and has come in handy, and in certain aspects has just saved so much hand labor that it's made me a lot more efficient, or made the people I work with a lot more efficient.